Brian and Roger, what an absolute pleasure and life highlight it is for me right now to be in your company.
Thank you, Ali. God bless you.
I just want to say, can you believe that Queen is celebrating 50 years as a band? Are you like numb to that number by now, or it still gets you every time?
We're ignoring it.
Yeah, it seems so ridiculous. We're trying to ignore it, and we hope it's going to go away, and it'll be less next year.
Exactly. I have been watching the really cool Queen the Greatest series that you guys have been doing, putting out an episode each week. Wow, I've been eating up these episodes.
Oh, that's good. They've done a nice job on it, haven't they? Very nice. Yeah. There's Simon Lupton.
And really cool footage, you know. I mean, for you to kind of go back and see this footage again, does it sort of make you relive these moments? Have you forgotten about some of these moments?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Very much so.
He's called Simon Lupton, and he digs out all this stuff that a lot of it we've forgotten, and so it's really quite interesting to see yourself all those years ago, you know, as you were. It's a bit of a shock.
I was reading about your first ever gig, and Roger, was this the one that was organized by your mom for like the Red Cross?
I think that's absolutely correct. Yeah, in the town where I grew up, it was in the local, basically, town hall, and I think people did not know what to make of Freddie Mercury. I think he was Mercury by then, and should we say he wasn't completely and utterly fully formed, but you know, we were in our infancy.
Yeah, I don't think he was Mercury by then, actually. I think he was Bolsara.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's pretty early days.
Yeah.
Roger, what are you doing, and why haven't you cut your hair?
Yeah.
I'm just fondly remembering Roger's mum.
Yeah.
It was an amazing character.
Yeah.
But Roger, you can't go out with hair like that.
Oh my God.
She could never work out because we used to stay in our house, our family house there, and she could never work out why Freddie had perfectly creased trousers. They were immaculate every morning, and he was just sleeping on a mattress, you know, on the floor. And it turned out he used to put them under the mattress and sleep on them, and basically press them while he was asleep. So.
Oh my goodness. So his voice we weren't quite sure about, but his pants were perfect.
His pants were always perfect. He used to say, one has to suffer for fashion. So, boy, we did. Yeah.
Do you remember the moment where you really first felt like, okay, we are all in our groove, this band has our own unique sound? Was there like a pivotal moment for you guys?
I suppose there's a number of pivotal moments, aren't there? The one that immediately springs to my mind is the first time we played Imperial College properly, and we had John as bass player. It was one of the first ones we did with John. In fact, maybe the first, I don't know. But suddenly the audience knew what we were doing and were calling out for songs as opposed to calling out for, you know, can you play Paranoid or whatever, you know. and you can tell that they were into it. They were hungry for what we actually had to offer. And it was amazing. We got our first review in Disc magazine, and it felt like, my God, yeah, something actually is happening now. Yeah. That's what I remember.
That's so cool. Because there were times where maybe the crowds at first weren't as receptive. People weren't quite sure what to make of the band. Right?
Oh, yeah. We could tell you stories.
Try to share one with me, because I think I remember reading one that said they were like, actually, well, they wanted you to play like Stairway to Heaven, or they wanted you to play...
Oh, no, I can do much better than that. No, we played this place... Shall I tell them, Rog?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, we played this place, I think it was called Balls Park College, which is a little way up north, a student ball kind of thing, and we played the first half to not very much reaction, and they are, you know, they're looking for us to play what they want to hear, probably like Zeppelin songs. And it got to the interval, and the entertainment lady came up to us and said, thanks, that was really, really, really good, you know, and we have a special request from the audience. Could they have the disco for the second half instead of you? Yeah. So we went, yeah, give us the money, bye.
Yeah, we'll be off then. I also remember another college in London, Bedford College. We turned up and there was nobody there, not one single person. So we sort of used it as a rehearsal, you know.
Yeah.
That's incredible. The thing, though, about you guys is that I read that you always just felt that you were destined for greatness, that you really were, talented, and you, as a band, you were something special. But do you think it was that mindset that really brought all the success?
I think it helps.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't do.
I think there's a certain amount of there was a certain lack of modesty. That is true. But I think is it arrogance, or is it faith in yourself? It's and the band, and we did have an innate sort of faith in the band. I think and what we were doing. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, we did. We had a kind of insane confidence.
Yeah. When you realize
on one level.
Yeah, you realize what the odds are, as you say, 50 years down the road, and it's amazing that you come through. Really,
In this series, which I've been watching religiously, it really goes on to talk about how Killer Queen was a true pivotal point for the band. What was so unique about this song, and where your mindsets were at this time?
It's interesting. I think it's a very kind of perfect pop song, pop rock song, and every time I listen to it, I think, oh my God, there's nothing you could do to improve that. It has all the right little ingredients. Freddie's great writing, a great song, I think. And strange enough, it was at the lighter end of what we were doing at the time. We were quite a sort of heavy group on stage at that time. And I remember having slight doubts about maybe this wasn't the right thing to put out to kind of encapsulate what we were trying to put across, but it was unquestionably the best hook, the best song as such. So we put it out, and it revolutionised how people perceived us all around the world.
Yeah, it had a degree of sophistication. The harmonies we laboured long and hard over the harmonies, and etc. And Brian played a wonderfully inventive guitar solo, and.
Thank you, Rog.
It's okay. And it was a record we were proud of at the time, and
yeah.
Thank heavens
Absolutely.
It was a hit.
Yeah, something I feel very proud of looking back on, I must say. Yeah, interesting. Roger says sophistication. That wasn't a kind of hallmark of most of the groups at the time. It was kind of uncool to be sophisticated, almost. So it was a bit of a step outside what people perceived the box to be.
Yeah,
at that time.
play paranoid.
It was a bit of a risk.
Paranoid. Yeah.
A Night at the Opera was really the make or break album. There were such high stakes for this album. I think it was something like it was the most expensive album at that time. Do you remember sort of the pressure surrounding creating the album?
It was
enormous pressure. Yeah,
it was hard work. I think we were working in 4 studios at once at one point. Each of us doing a certain things in different studios all over London, and it did seem to take an inordinate amount of time. But we kind of felt it was going to be worth it, because it was very eclectic. Every track was different from the next.
Yeah, we're also up against it because really we're not just broke, we're in debt. Mm-hmm. And if that album hadn't done well, it probably would have been at the end of the line for us, I would have thought. That we just signed a new deal with John Reid, who was Elton's manager at the time, and John said, okay, I'll sort out all your business problems, and there were many, and you guys just go away and make the best album you've ever made. And thank heavens, we did, I guess.
It's one of the greatest albums of all time, and we do need to spend a moment to talk about Bohemian Rhapsody, because not only is it one of the greatest songs of all time, but it is the most streamed song of the 20th century, and it just went diamond. Congratulations. Which I think makes you the first British band for a song to go diamond, which is pretty impressive.
I can't believe that. It's an amazing fact, but did the Beatles never have one of those,
I guess it's like step aside Beatles. It's like Queen is here.
We must send a fax to Paul. just a reminder they don't do everything,
You love that.
That's true. Not everything. It's approaching 1.5 billion streams on Spotify.
Wow.
It's just these
amazing.
numbers are just mind-blowing. But what's also so cool is, in addition to the song just being a masterpiece, we really have to talk about the significance of the video as well, because this was pre-MTV days, and this video is really said to be the first ever promotional music video. You know, it sort of set the tone for how music videos would be done from here on out. Tell me about the making of this video and, you know, what you guys set out to achieve with this.
In the beginning, it was a means to an end. There was a very powerful show over here, a TV show, the Key Show, and we were rehearsing for a big tour, and we couldn't appear on this show, so we worked out a way, how can we get on the show and not actually be there? And so we used an outside sports broadcast unit. To record it. We said we'd record it on videotape, which was a kind of a newish thing then, and nobody had ever thought of it before. People had made little films on 16mm film, but they weren't used as promotional material like that, and that really became the blueprint for, you know, let's make a video and then they'll show that on TV shows all around the world and sell you a record, and so that way, in that sense, it was the first.
Yeah, and MTV kind of was built on it, strangely enough.
100%. It was the blueprint for it. And I think it is the first pre-1990s video to hit 1 billion views on YouTube.
Wow. Good Lord.
So there's
Amazing.
Another statistic for you guys.
Yeah, done on a shoestring. It's done for £5,000. Even that's probably an overestimate.
That's about,
it was just,
how many, $6,500, something like that, yeah. Kind of nothing.
Thrown together because we had the concepts in our head, and Bruce Gowers, our director, knew how to do it. And it was done with sheets, you know, this little silhouette thing is done just with a sheet held up, a couple of guys, you know, it's all done very cheaply, but just worked.
All for the price of, you know, when it all got crazy later, of Michael Jackson's shoelace bill, you know, for bad or something, whatever. You know, it got really crazy. People were spending $1 million on a video, and maybe it was worth it, maybe not. But
well, this one was certainly, every penny and pound was worth this video. It's such a masterpiece. I was reading a little bit about, you know, your upbringing, and both of you started playing instruments very young. Roger, weren't you in a band by the time you were like 7?
I think I might have been 8. I think I was 8, maybe 7. And I was pretending to play the ukulele, which I couldn't actually play, because the sort of idea of chords hadn't really occurred to me. But I had the rhythm all right, you know.
So instead of air guitar, you were playing like air ukulele.
We played what we called skiffle, and we were called the Bubbling Over Boys.
What about you, Brian? You started playing guitar pretty young.
Yeah, about the same age, I guess, really, yeah. Inspired by like Elvis records and Tommy Steele, who was big in our country at that time, and Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly was the big kick for me. As soon as I heard the kind of noise he made, that's what I wanted to do. So I set my mind to it right away.
I remember seeing Buddy Holly on TV, and he had the first Fender Stratocaster that I'd ever seen, and wow, that was cool.
Wow.
Amazing.
So was it Buddy Holly for you too, Roger?
Well, I like Buddy Holly. He wasn't really my favorite. I think this was a long time ago. I think I loved the early Elvis records and Little Richard. That kind of thing really was a bit more me. Jerry Lee Lewis, a couple of those, yeah.
Because every band will probably say that Queen inspired them in some way, or one of you individually, you know, for their musicianship. So I always wonder, who inspired Queen? So this is good to know, this concept.
Well, definitely them, and then Jimi Hendrix, and, you know, for me, Clapton and Jeff Beck. And Roger and I used to go and see a lot of bands together in the early days. Like Spooky Tooth was a favourite band at the time.
And we loved
The Nice were a big favourite.
We loved The Who.
The Who, for God's
I've just
sake,
been watching a show about The Who Sell Out, one of their classic albums, and what a wonderful album, way ahead of its time that was. They were a phenomenal band. They really had that explosive chemistry, I think, you know.
Fantastic, yeah.
I know that, you know, as you guys were in Queen, you both were approached at different times to join other bands. And so I just kind of wanted to hear those stories, and what was it that you knew that Queen was it and you had to stay put?
Well, yeah, the Sparks were a big deal in Britain around the time of Killer Queen. They had their massive massive hit, which was, I think, #1. This town ain't big enough for the both of us. And the two brothers came round my house and said, look, we both had hits, but we all know that Sparks is going to go on and rule the world, whereas Queen is kind of going to fizzle out after this, obviously, so come and join us while you can. So I went, maybe not. Maybe not at this point, you know. So I don't know about you, Roger. I remember.
Well, I had a couple of offers, and the sort of offers, yeah. And then there was an idea that we were going to make a band called Hunter Ronson Taylor. That was with Ian Hunter from Mott the Hoople, who was a friend of ours because we supported them. We loved them, Mott the Hoople, and obviously I love Mick Ronson with his work with David Bowie. And they had this idea they wanted to form that band, but I mean, really, I just thought, no, I believe in Queen, I believe in our band and what we had with Freddie and you know, what we had together. So much as I love those guys, I'm so glad I stayed around. I'm very glad Brian stayed around as well. Yeah, because let's face it,
chose wisely.
Yeah, well, you know, Sparks were always going to fizzle out.
Ironically, Spark would fizzle out. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. They're lovely boys.
No,
It was great what they were doing.
Yeah.
But it was a good idea.
Cheeky sods, trying to steal our guitar player. I don't know.
Really.
It's true. Well, we're all grateful that you stayed put. There was such a unique chemistry and magic in Queen, as each member of the band was equally important in the beautiful chemistry you guys had together. And it seems as though perhaps the most competitive creative energy might have been between the two of you, and Freddie was sort of like the diplomat who would sort of be the peacemaker. Tell me more about that sort of dynamic.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that. Yeah, Roger and I are kind of like brothers. There's a sort of, I don't know, I would hesitate to say love-hate relationship, but I've said it. But there's a kind of competition there, you know, and we respect each other, we kind of love each other, but there is always this business that we're pulling in opposite directions on almost anything you care to name. So yeah, Freddie a lot of the time would go, okay, come on guys, do this and this and this and we'll sort it out, let's move on. He was, I guess some people perceived him as being very difficult and awkward, but he wasn't. He was very much the guy who would sort things out and move things forward.
Absolutely true, yeah. Yeah. Yes, he would sort of make us see sense, you know.
Yeah.
And you had said there was a catchphrase that Freddie used to say, like, we don't compromise.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear what he meant about that. But in the band, you compromised. But externally, you were like,
that's
we're
right.
Queen and we don't compromise.
That's absolutely right, yeah. Yeah, it's compromise. It's not in our vocabulary. Yeah.
That's incredible. Was there an example where he used that? That's such an incredible line.
Well, Bohemian Rhapsody is an example. You know, Bohemian Rhapsody, everybody wanted us to cut it down, edit it, or mollify it in some way. And Freddie was adamant, we were all adamant, that it went out as it was or not at all. So, yeah, no compromise.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's rock and roll. Exactly. I love this brotherly love that you guys share. What would you say that you admire most or respect most about the other one?
Ooh! You first, Rose.
No, after you, mate.
Oh dear, it's very hard to think of anything really. No, just being very mean. Well, you know, there is something about Roger's playing of the drums. You know, he has lots of other talents, but as a drummer, he's completely unique because you always know when it's him behind the drums. And there are very, very few drummers that you can say that about. You know, there's a certain way of kind of making his hi-hat talk, which is unusual, has been copied a little, in recent times, but he has a way of making the drums sound like a kind of creamy entity that hangs glues together. And I've never known anyone else that can do that thing. And it works perfectly with what I do, so it was a lucky break to find this particular drummer.
Aw, that's awesome.
Well, while we're stroking each other,
yeah, good enough, Roger.
Yeah, I have to ask, very good, yeah, but you could have gone on a bit more, I thought. But
that's all? What else?
No. Go further. I have to say, the first time I heard Brian pick up the electric guitar, I just thought, oh boy, this guy has a touch which I haven't come across before. I don't know anybody else that can play as lyrically as that. And he also has an amazing grasp of harmonic structure, which is kind of technical, but it's very useful. It's been very useful for us, you know. Yeah. So that's musically. But
Thanks, Rog.
personally, I can't think of anything good to say about it.
I was waiting for that. I knew that was amazing. well, obviously, you guys have beautiful chemistry and magic because the Greatest Hits album is actually one of the greatest selling albums of all time in the UK. And it's also in the Billboard 200 top 10. I mean, it's just, again, the numbers, they just keep coming as these songs stand the test of time. Are you just, each time, you sort of just chuckle to yourself, or are you like, we told you?
Well, no, I mean, it's a surprise. It's just a continual surprise. Amazing. You know, especially in the UK, it is actually the biggest selling album of all time in the UK. And, you know, there's the Beatles, they've got another million to sell before they can catch us. You know? I think it's Sgt. Pepper is number 2, I think. But as you get told this stuff, you know, we wouldn't know otherwise. But no, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And the Diamond Award was a real thrill.
It's great. It's a lovely thing to wake up sometimes, and sometimes you don't feel that great when you wake up, or if you're like me, you know, you think, oh God, and then you suddenly remember, oh, but all this happened and all that, you know, and we sold all these records, and people have woven our music into their lives. That's the thing which makes me most happy. Things like, you know, We'll Rock You With the Champions and all this, you know, Gaga and everything became part of the language of rock and roll. And that's kind of the greatest thing of all to me, that the fact that we're in people's lives and we trigger off happiness in them when they hear that music.
It's true. You're not just a band or have a plethora of great songs, but you are the soundtrack for people's lives, and you are the fabric of history, and you're continuing to make history, which is so remarkable.
That's a very nice way of putting it. Thank you.
What kind of fabric? What kind of fabric? Is it a nice silk velvet, or is it just a
Cashmere.
bit of Hessian?
Cashmere.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Smooth, very smooth.
And it'll be perfectly pressed. The fabric will be perfectly pressed, as Freddie would like it. Yes. Another one of your massive songs, which is one of the greatest collaborations of all time, is of course Under Pressure with David Bowie. And sometimes when you speak with artists, you learn that some of the greatest songs happen the most quickly. Was this an example of one of those times?
It's laid down very quick, very late one night when we'd all been out for a drink. Yeah, it ambled on in the mixing stage. It became a little bit of an argument in the mix, but it was fundamentally put down very quick, yeah. What, 2-3 hours, Rog, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't quite late, as I remember, but it was a creative session, you know, and it was wonderful bouncing off, especially a talent like David, his immense talent. And it was great, yeah. We finished it in New York, so it was started in Switzerland, finished in New York. But it was a very pleasing collaboration. But I do think technically the record could have actually been better. In the end, we had a few problems there, technical problems, yeah.
Only you guys hear that, though. To everyone else, it's perfection.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
In 1985, for the iconic Live Aid performance, you guys did a 22-minute set, which has gone down in history of one of the best live performances ever. But at the time, you were not aware of how historic that performance would be. And in fact, you weren't even sure if it was that great, right?
Well, you don't know when you come off, do you? You know, we knew it had gone pretty well. But no, we didn't realise it would be a sort of landmark in history or anything like that. And we hadn't gone there to do that. We'd gone there just to be part of the cause and do our bit. So yeah, looking back on it, you know, I still see the faults. I still see us looking kind of shaky at some moments, but it doesn't matter because the passion is there, the energy is there, and my God, the contact with the audience is definitely there, which we hadn't probably expected to that extent because everybody had bought tickets before we were announced on the bill. So that's a strange thing to think about.
Yeah, it was an incredible connection with the audience. It was immediate. And Freddie just literally took them and seized the audience and absolutely commanded it, really. So
yeah,
I do remember feeling very, very content when we came off and quite excited. I thought, wow, we really made an impact, you know.
And in the film Bohemian Rhapsody, I mean, it was really recreated pretty accurately, right?
Oh, they did such a great job of it, yeah. Especially the boys who played us. They're incredible, yeah. And it was very well done. They went to infinite care, and trouble to recreate every little foot pedal is there, every cymbal is right, every amp is right. They really went to town to make that right.
Yeah.
It's great.
But it's interestingly, because Brian and I were in with the sound mixing of the movie, and we didn't know whether to use the track that they'd created with the vocals that they'd created, or to use our actual soundtrack. And in the end, we decided our actual soundtrack was kind of more immediate in some way, maybe less perfect, but what you see in the film, what you hear in the film, is us, is us on that day,
Exactly. Yeah, warts and all. Every single bit is there, as was.
It's phenomenal. And then there was another incredible night at Wembley for the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. And what's also crazy to know is that concert, all 72,000 tickets sold out within 3 hours before anyone else was announced to be part of the show, of course, besides you guys. And what a night that was. That's nearly 30 years ago now. How wild is that?
That is
incredible.
Yes, that's scary. Yeah.
It was a wonderful night. It really was, full of love and special kind of passion.
A lot of really great people turned up that night for Freddie and for the cause of AIDS awareness, and so it was a great way to send him off.
Such a beautiful celebration, so much love. And it's sort of wild to think about that when that show was going on, that there would be a 10-year-old boy out there in Indiana who would soon front the band.
Oh.
10-year-old Adam Lambert was out there. And,
that 10-year-old,
Yes. I was fortunate to see the very first performance with you guys. I think that was 2013. That was the Vegas show, the iHeart show. iHeart show. So I was there, and I remember and I love Adam, and I've interviewed Adam, and he's such a great talent, and of course I love you. So of course I was nervous, though. I'm sure you guys were somewhat nervous. But when it came on stage, the nerves went to just pure elation because it was such a beautiful iteration. It just was magical. How did you guys feel in that moment?
Great, actually. Yeah, I mean, Adam he's an exceptional talent, and I just can't speak highly enough of him. His voice is second to none, and it's been nothing but a pleasure since we've been working together, which is why we continue to do so. Is that right, Brian?
Yes. That's right, yeah. I mean, I call him the GFG, the gift from God, because we weren't looking for that. And somehow he was there. And of course, he doesn't imitate Freddie in any shape or form, but he's able to rise to the challenge of interpreting every one of those songs and making them something special, even in the light of history. He has big shoes to I mean, he has big shoes anyway, but he has big shoes to fill, and he's a phenomenon. There's no doubt. There's nobody else could have stepped into that place, and we love Adam, and hopefully we'll be back out there with him next May and June.
That's right.
Yeah, so all the dates have been rescheduled. Unfortunately, it had to happen twice, these two.
That's right, postponed for a year each time. Yeah.
Yeah, but they are going to happen. I'm going to be there front and center. And I agree. I mean, no one can ever fill Freddie's shoes, and Adam doesn't try to because it's an impossibility, but he does an incredible job playing with Queen.
He really does.
And his voice is unbelievable.
Oh boy, that voice. Oh.
Yeah, he brings a new dimension to some of the songs,
He really does.
Yeah.
And I know that you guys have toyed a little bit in the studio together. Do you think that you'll have new music with Adam?
It could happen, yeah. We did have a little play around. We didn't actually finish anything to our satisfaction. It has to be perfect, has to be great, when we come out with something. Yeah, at the moment we're all doing other stuff, which I think is probably fine, But yeah, it could happen. What do you think, Rog?
I'd like it to happen, but as Brian said, it's got to be really great. It can't be ordinary, and I think we'd all feel very disappointed if it came out and everybody went, Yeah. It's got to be good. Got to be good.
Well, at least we have the shows to look forward to, and your shows are extremely physical. You know, you guys are all athletes on the stage. Do you have to get into shape and get conditioned for these performances?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have to keep it in mind for a long time. I have to harden up the finger ends. That's one thing. But also, yeah, I mean, and fitness is a big deal. I mean, I started to get fit on the last tour. Unfortunately, I got stricken with things which were not so good. You know, I got a big heart attack thing going on. And
how are you feeling?
I'm great now. You know, I took rehab incredibly serious. I got a gold star from my cardio rehab trainer the other day. So I'm good as far as I think I'm probably fitter than ever because I take it a lot more seriously now. So I'll be ready like next May and June.
That's fantastic. What about you, Roger? Anything? Do you do any sort of training?
I wish I could say I did, but not really. I seem to be quite lucky. I keep reasonably fit, but when you play the drums, you have to be reasonably fit. You know, you can't.
You do.
It's and you do learn to get stamina. You know. But I'm not Taylor Hawkins, who cycles about 100 miles a day.
And who, by the way, cites you as the drummer that changed his life. We had him on the show, and that's what I asked him. I said, "Who was the drummer that made you want to play drums?" And he said, "You." Oh
well, he's a great buddy of mine. He's a wonderful guy, and he's a wonderful drummer too. I mean, they've got two great drummers in that band. Yeah, I love the Foo Fighters. I love the Foo Fighters.
Both of you have been working on your own music. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, you should start, Rose. You got an album.
Well, I have an album. I just suddenly had this creative. I had some tracks I've been doing over the last couple of years, but then I just had this creative burst in this last lockdown, and so I think I have an album. It's out in October the 1st, and it's called Outsider.
Oh, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
Was there any specific muse for this album?
No, it's just a mood. I think you have to hear it. Yeah, you have to hear it.
I can't wait.
Good.
Looking forward to it. Awesome. And Brian, we're going to hear Back to the Light and sort of a new reissue.
Yeah, I've been working on that because my solo albums haven't really been available anywhere for a long time. So it's an opportunity to polish them up a little bit, remaster and repackage and stuff. And I was kind of torn between let's do everything and let's just do piece by piece. And I settled for piece by piece because I can kind of take more loving care. So it's just this one album that will be coming out in, I think it's August or September. All nicely polished and with some of the tracks that were sort of associated with it, which didn't actually get on the album at the time, so that'll be fun. And I've been working a lot with a lady called Kerry Ellis, who for about 20 years we've been sort of partners and stuff, so we just put out a single called Panic Attack 2021.
Yeah.
So I'm missing playing live, I must say. It's very strange for a musician not to have that outlet and not to feel the energy coming back from an audience. It's going to be incredible the first time we step back and do that.
When you let your mind go and you think about being back on stage, are you playing a specific song? Is there a certain song you just cannot wait to play?
Ooh.
It's always hard to know what song to start the show with. So yeah, it is hard. But I have to say, our last tour, which was the Far East, Japan, Korea, and Australia, New Zealand, I think was for me one of the most enjoyable tours we've ever done. It was fantastic level of response, and I think we were all playing very well, and it was just a very happy tour. And then we got COVID, and came home and everything shut down. So
it's trying to think what we kicked off with. Yeah, I just trying to think, what did we kick that? I mean, Tear It Up, we started up some of the tour, didn't we? I can't remember what else. And Now I'm Here, some of the time. What else?
I think it was Now I'm Here.
Remember?
And
Now I'm Here, yeah. It's nice to play
that was another one, yeah. Tie Your Mother Down, that's another, yeah.
Tie Your Mother Down is a nice thing to kick into because even if you kind of make a hash of it, it's still got what it's got.
Yeah,
whatever that is.
Yeah, I agree.
If you think about the magic that would happen at the shows before, think about what it's going to be like now. How everyone is just going to be on another planet, just so happy and grateful and in tears.
I think you're right, and I tell you what, we're going to be very happy to be there.
You betcha.
Exactly. What about outside of music? What have you guys been up to?
Oh boy. Well, I'll be busy. I do a lot of astro stuff, and I've become a member of a number of NASA teams, which is like a dream come true, really. So I do stereoscopic photography, stereoscopic assembly of photography, if you like, which makes most of them smile. And all of these people like to be seen and heard. You know, they're doing something amazing, and they want the public to know, which is the way we all are. You know, so some of what I do makes that more possible. I can put lots of nice 3D pictures up, and people understand a little bit better what they're doing out there exploring the solar system. So I do a lot of that. I've been busy with that.
It's pretty remarkable. It really is.
Love it.
Brian's in outer space and I'm on the sea.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You do love being out.
Yeah, well,
you boat a lot.
yeah,
right?
I bought myself a new boat. It is a hole in the ocean in which you throw money.
That's pretty funny.
That's amazing.
You did have fun in space, though, didn't you, Rog?
Yeah. Had fun on Earth, too. Yeah.
Well, guys, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time and for celebrating such a special year and so many accolades together. And I personally dream of seeing you back on the stage and partying together and just hearing some of the best songs of all time live.
Oh, bless you.
Great. We personally dream of seeing you in the front row.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for having
Guys,
us.
thank you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Allison.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
It's been a pleasure.
Bless. You're very good at this, Allison.
Oh, thank you so much. That's just the biggest compliment I could receive.
Very, very
Thank you.
professional. It's really great.
Oh, wow.
Moved it along nicely.
Is this recording, I hope?
Moved it along
Keep us
nicely.
jolly as well. Yeah, you keep us jolly because we're miserable old sods, really.
So, I'm dead, guys. I'm dead on the floor from that. Interviewing Brian and Roger from Queen, I was actually complimented by them. I'm done. I mean, where does one really go from here? I'm good. I did it.